All right, so you want to speak English.
Yes.
Right, like with more confidence, I mean.
Yeah.
Go beyond just hello and goodbye, you know.
Yeah.
Well, today we're diving into this guide. It says it'll unlock the secrets to sounding like a native speaker. And let me tell you, there's some seriously cool stuff in here.
I do.
Way beyond basic phrases.
Okay, so what's interesting about this guide, it challenges the traditional way of learning languages.
Oh, how so?
Well, it argues that instead of focusing only on grammar rules and vocab lists,
Yeah.
we should be learning how to actually talk, you know?
Communicate.
Yeah, in real life situations.
Right, that makes sense. But
Yeah.
how do you actually go about doing that? I mean, it's
Well-
easy to say talk more, but what should you actually be saying?
Well, the guide says you should start with simple phrases.
Okay.
Practical phrases that you'd use, you know, in everyday life. Like, think of it as building a foundation for fluency.
Okay.
And it breaks these situations into, like, categories,
Very
like
simple.
introductions, daily routine.
Yeah.
Ordering food, asking for directions.
Yeah.
And each category gives you a set of phrases and expressions that native speakers use all the time.
So it's like a cheat sheet
Yeah.
for, like, navigating real life conversations.
Exactly.
That's awesome. It takes away some of the pressure, you know, of trying to figure out what to say on the spot.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is the guide encourages you to, like,
Yeah.
use these phrases as a springboard
Oh, cool.
for more extended conversation.
Oh, I like that.
So let's say you're at a coffee shop, right?
Okay.
And you want to start talking to someone.
Okay.
You could start by saying, "Hi, I'm listener's name. I really like the atmosphere here."
That's so easy.
Right.
Yeah, anyone can do that.
And then you could ask a question like, you know, do you come here often? Or what's your favorite drink?
That's such a good example.
Right.
It's simple, but it opens the door for a more, like, natural conversation.
Exactly.
But what about this whole...
Sounding like a native speaker thing.
Okay.
Is it really possible to, like, get rid of your accent?
Well, the guide, it addresses that
Okay.
and offers a really fun technique. Imitation.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It suggests watching popular TV shows or movies
Okay.
and trying to mimic how they're talking.
Wait, so you're telling me I can improve my English by watching, like, Friends?
Exactly.
That's my kind of homework.
And it's not just about the words.
Oh, okay.
It's about paying attention to the intonation, rhythm, and stress patterns. These are super important for sounding natural and fluent.
Okay.
And the guide recommends this technique called shadowing,
Shadowing.
where you listen to, like, a short audio clip
Okay.
and then you repeat it, like, immediately.
Oh, wow.
Try to match the speaker's pace and pronunciation.
Oh, so that's shadowing.
Yeah.
That sounds intense, but I can see how it'd be effective.
Right.
Those little nuances of pronunciation.
It is.
So it's like you're training your ears and your mouth to, like, work together.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And the guide says you should start with, like, really short, simple phrases
Okay.
and then gradually work up to longer sentences and dialogues.
Yeah.
Key is to be patient and consistent.
Right.
Don't worry about sounding perfect.
No, of course.
Right.
Okay, this is all starting to make sense.
Yeah.
But I have to ask about, like,
Yeah.
the elephant in the room, you know?
Okay.
Vocabulary.
Okay.
I've always struggled with memorizing words, you know?
Right.
Long lists of words.
Yeah.
Is there a more strategic way to approach this?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
The guide stresses that simply memorizing words, you know, out of context, it isn't effective. It proposes this strategic vocabulary building.
What's that?
Okay. It focuses on learning words and phrases that are relevant to you,
Oh, okay.
your interests, your goals. So it suggests, like, making your own word lists
Oh.
based on topics you like, you know, like travel or food, movies, music.
Right. Okay, that sounds way more engaging than flipping through a dictionary.
Right.
But how do you make sure you actually use these words?
Okay, so the guide recommends this technique.
Yeah.
It's called spaced repetition.
Okay.
And it involves, like, reviewing the words at different intervals to strengthen your memory.
Oh, cool.
There's tons of apps and websites that can help with that.
That's a clever way to keep those words,
Yeah.
like, fresh in your mind.
Right.
So it's not just about learning new words, it's about, like, actively using them.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
the guide emphasizes the importance of using these words in context.
Okay.
So instead of just memorizing definitions, try to, like, make sentences,
Okay.
or even short stories
Yeah.
that use the words, this will help you, like actually understand them,
Yeah.
how they're used.
In real life.
Yeah,
That's such a practical tip.
right.
It's one thing to know the definition, but it's another to be able to use it,
Exactly.
like in a sentence.
Exactly.
Yeah, confidently.
The guide suggests finding creative ways to use new words in your daily life.
Oh, like what?
Well, you could label things around your house,
Mm-hmm.
right? Journal entries.
Okay.
Challenge yourself to think in English for a few minutes each day.
Thinking in English.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of scary, to be honest.
It might seem challenging.
Yeah.
But the guide breaks it down.
Oh.
It suggests starting with simple thoughts and descriptions,
Like what?
like I'm hungry, or the sky is blue.
Oh.
As you get more comfortable, you can, increase the complexity.
I guess it's like building a muscle.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect to lift a heavy weight on your first day at the gym.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it takes time
Yeah.
to build strength.
And consistency.
Yeah, consistency.
And the guide emphasizes that the more you expose yourself to the language,
Yeah.
the easier it'll be to think in English. So surround yourself with English,
Books, movies, music.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And your brain will naturally start to make connections.
Oh, I'm starting to get excited about this.
Yeah.
Thinking in English thing.
It's cool.
But what about those moments when you just blank
Huh?
and you can't remember a word or a phrase?
Okay.
We've all been there.
Of course, happens to everyone, even native speakers.
Okay, good.
But the guide offers some strategies for dealing with those tip of the tongue moments.
Okay, what are they?
Well, it emphasizes staying calm and using circumlocution.
Circumlocution. What's that?
That means, describing the word
Okay.
that you're trying to say.
Oh, so instead of freezing up and saying, I don't know the word,
Yeah.
I could try to describe it
Yeah,
using other words.
exactly.
Like, it's the thing you used to.
Yeah,
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
right.
Yeah, it's like playing charades in your vocabulary.
And the guide says you should practice circumlocution, regularly.
Yeah.
You can play games with friends
Well, that's fun.
where you challenge each other to describe words
Oh, I like that.
without actually saying them.
Okay, we've covered a lot
Yeah.
in this first part of our deep dive, from building a foundation of practical phrases to mastering pronunciation and expanding your vocabulary.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Well, one of the most important aspects of speaking any language is confidence.
Right.
And that's where the guide's emphasis on practice comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough to just learn the words and phrases.
Right.
You need to actually use them.
Right, and that's where I think a lot of language learners get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to practice at home,
Yeah,
but it's another to actually go out there and talk to people.
right.
Any tips on overcoming that fear, of making mistakes?
Well, the guide acknowledges that fear, and it gives some advice.
Okay, good.
First, it reminds us that everyone makes mistakes.
Okay.
Even native speakers.
Yeah.
It's a natural part of learning.
But how do you deal with those awkward moments when you say something wrong and people look at you like you've just spoken a foreign language?
The guide says embrace those moments
Okay.
as opportunities to learn.
Okay.
Instead of getting flustered,
Yeah.
try to see them as a chance to clarify,
Okay.
and improve your pronunciation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe even your confidence a little.
And it also recommends finding supportive language partners or groups where you can practice.
Mm-hmm. In a safe environment.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Right.
Surround yourself with people who will support you.
Yes.
Speaking of support, does the guide offer any strategies for actually putting all this speaking practice into action?
It does.
Like, it's easy to talk about it, but how do you actually make it happen?
Well, the guide gives a range of practical tips for incorporating speaking into your routine,
Oh, cool.
whether you have a partner or not. For solo practice,
Yeah.
it suggests things like recording yourself,
Oh.
describing images out loud, telling stories,
Mm-hmm.
and even having imaginary conversations.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
Those are great ideas. And for those who do have a language partner,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of activities does the guide recommend?
Well, the guide's packed with suggestions for interactive speaking activities.
Like what?
Like role-playing common scenarios, debating current events,
Oh,
discussing movies or books,
Okay.
and even playing language-based games.
Oh, that's fun.
The key is to find activities that are engaging and relevant to your interests.
This guide is like a gold mine of advice.
Yeah.
We've barely scratched the surface here of all the tips and techniques.
Yeah.
But before we dive into more specific strategies for improving your speaking,
Okay.
let's take a quick break to process all this awesome information.
Right.
We'll be back soon with more insights from this incredible guide.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into speaking English like you mean it. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling super inspired to put all these techniques into practice.
Yeah, it's amazing.
There's so much in here.
It really is.
Before the break, we were talking about, actually using your English and overcoming that fear of making mistakes.
Right.
But what about the technical stuff?
Like what?
Like pronunciation. I know a lot of people, they struggle with specific sounds or accents.
Yeah, that's a good point. Pronunciation is often overlooked.
Yeah.
But it's super important for being understood and sounding more natural.
Yeah.
The guide actually goes into this.
Okay, so what are some things learners should focus on?
Okay, so the guide, it breaks pronunciation into 3 core elements.
What are they?
Individual sounds, word stress, and connected speech.
Okay.
It says that mastering individual sounds is like the foundation.
Okay.
For example, a lot of learners have trouble with the sound,
Oh, yeah, that one.
which doesn't exist in many languages.
No, it's hard.
Right.
It's like my tongue is doing gymnastics.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So what's the secret to getting it right? Well, the
Yeah.
guide says to pay attention to your tongue and teeth
Okay.
and practice those sounds in isolation until they become more natural.
Oh, okay.
There's a ton of resources online
Really?
that can show you exactly how to do it.
That's so helpful. I wish I had those when I was learning.
Right.
Okay, so what about word stress?
Word stress.
Why is that so important?
Word stress can completely change the meaning of a word.
Oh, really?
Like, for example, the word present
Okay.
can be a noun or a verb,
Yeah.
right? And the stress changes depending on which one it is.
Oh, I see.
If you stress the first syllable, it means a gift.
Okay.
But if you stress the second syllable, it means to give something.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Yeah, subtle but significant.
So how do you know which syllable to stress? Are there, rules?
There are some patterns,
Okay.
but English pronunciation can be unpredictable.
Yeah, for sure.
The guide recommends listening to native speakers
Mm.
and paying attention to which syllables they emphasize.
Okay.
It also says to, break down words into syllables
Yeah.
and mark the stressed syllable
Oh, that's a good idea.
as you learn new words.
Yeah, make your own
Yeah.
pronunciation guide.
Exact.
Yeah, I like that. So connected speech.
What's that?
This is about how words flow together
Okay.
in natural conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Native speakers often blend sounds,
Oh, yeah.
drop syllables,
Oh,
link words together.
Okay.
So do you want to go?
yeah.
Often sounds like, do you want to go?
Yeah.
Right. So that's why it sounds like they're talking so fast.
Right. They're not just speaking fast, they're connecting the words to
Okay.
make it smoother.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
And the guide points out that understanding this is important for comprehending native speakers
Mm-hmm.
and sounding more natural yourself.
Okay.
It recommends listening for those patterns and practicing, through shadowing.
Shadowing again.
Yeah.
It seems like that technique's really useful
It is.
for pronunciation.
It is.
But let's move beyond pronunciation.
Right.
What about fluency?
Fluency.
How do you get to that point where you can just speak
Okay.
without, hesitating or searching for words?
Fluency is often seen as the holy grail of language learning.
Yeah.
This guide offers some insights.
Okay.
It says that fluency isn't about speaking perfectly
Oh, good.
or never making mistakes.
Okay, good.
It's about communicating your ideas
Yeah.
effectively and effortlessly.
It takes the pressure off.
Right.
Yeah.
But how do you get to that point of effortlessness?
Yeah. Is it just practicing a lot?
Well, practice is essential.
Yeah.
But the guide says that the type of practice is important.
Okay.
You should do activities that push you a little bit,
Okay.
but not too much.
So the sweet spot.
Yeah, where you're challenged but not overwhelmed.
Right. Okay. I like that.
Like working out.
Yeah.
You need to challenge your muscles but not hurt yourself.
Yeah. Good analogy.
Right. And the guide encourages learners to experiment.
With different types of practice.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's all about finding what works for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the guide emphasizes that consistency is key.
Mm-hmm.
It recommends practicing every day, even just for a few minutes.
Right. A little bit goes a long way.
Right. The more you use it, the
Yeah.
more natural it'll become.
Okay. This is all starting to make sense, but I have to ask
Yeah.
about thinking in English.
Okay.
Is it really possible? Can you actually switch your brain?
the guide addresses that.
Okay.
And it says that thinking in English is a skill
Okay.
that you can develop gradually over time.
Okay.
It's not about like turning off your native language.
Right.
It's about adding English to your thought process.
But how do you do that?
The guide recommends starting with simple things.
Okay.
Like describing objects around you in English or mentally practicing conversations
Oh, okay. Interesting.
before you have them.
So like train your brain
Yeah,
one thought at a time.
exactly. And the more you immerse yourself,
Mm.
the easier it becomes.
Oh.
Surround yourself with English
Mhm.
and your brain will like naturally start to
Yeah.
process it.
That's fascinating. It's like rewiring your brain.
Yeah, it is.
What about those moments when you're speaking
Yeah.
and you completely blank?
Uh-huh.
You can't remember a word.
Okay.
How do you deal with that?
The guide says, first of all, stay calm.
Don't panic.
Yeah, don't panic.
Right. Okay.
Everyone has those moments.
Okay, good.
Even native speakers.
Okay, that's reassuring. Yeah.
So the guide suggests using circumlocution.
Circumlocution. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it means describing the word
Right. Yeah.
you're trying to say.
Okay. So like if I can't remember the word umbrella,
Yeah.
I could say the thing you use to keep the rain off your head.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like playing charades
Yeah.
with your words.
Exactly.
But doesn't that sound awkward?
It might feel awkward,
Yeah.
but it's actually a very common strategy,
Right.
even among native speakers.
Okay, good.
And it's a great way to like expand your vocabulary
Yeah.
and learn to express yourself in different ways.
Okay, so it's turning a communication breakdown
Yeah,
into a learning opportunity.
exactly.
Okay, I love that.
And the guide recommends practicing this regularly.
Okay.
You can even play games with friends
Yeah, that's fun.
to challenge each other.
We've covered so much
I know.
in this part, from pronunciation to fluency, vocabulary, and even confidence.
It's a lot.
But there's one crucial element of speaking English like you mean it
Okay.
that we haven't talked about yet.
Okay, what's that?
Confidence.
Ah, yes.
How do you get that inner assurance?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And the guide talks about this.
Okay, good.
It says that confidence comes from a few things.
Okay, like what?
Mastering the technical stuff,
Yeah.
having good vocabulary,
Mm-hmm.
and most importantly, believing in yourself.
Oh, okay. So it's not just about knowing the rules.
Right.
It's about having that, like, inner belief.
Yes, that you can do it.
But how do you get that?
The guide offers some advice.
Okay, good.
It reminds us that everyone starts somewhere.
Right.
Making mistakes is normal.
Yeah.
It encourages you to set realistic goals.
Okay.
Celebrate small wins and focus on progress.
Not perfection.
Not perfection, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good reminder.
Right. It's easy to compare ourselves to others and get
Yeah.
discouraged.
Yeah.
But focus on your own journey
Yeah.
and those small wins.
Okay, I like that.
And the guide also says, find a supportive environment,
Yeah.
whether it's a language partner, a group, or online.
Right. People who will support you.
Exactly.
That's so important
It is.
to have that support.
It is.
And the guy also says, you know,
Yeah.
confidence, it's not a fixed thing.
Right.
It's something you can develop.
You can build it.
Okay, so anyone can become confident
Yes.
in speaking English.
Absolutely.
That's great.
And this guide gives you the tools to do that.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
We've covered so much in this part,
So much.
from pronunciation and fluency
Yes.
to vocabulary and confidence.
It's amazing.
Before we wrap up, let's take a quick break.
Okay.
Let all this info sink in.
Yeah.
We'll be back soon with the final part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
We'll explore even more tips
Okay.
for speaking English like you mean it. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into speaking English like you mean it. We've explored so much already, like pronunciation and fluency, but now I'm ready for the action, you know?
Right. Time to put it all into practice.
Yeah, make a plan.
Exactly.
And that's where this guide is really helpful.
It is. It gives you steps you can actually take.
So where do we begin?
Well, the guide says to start by figuring out your goals.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah. What do you want to achieve? Travel. Connect with people. Get a better job.
That's a good point. Gotta have a reason.
Right. Then you got to see where you're at now.
Like, what am I good at? What do I need to work on?
Exactly. Be honest with yourself.
Okay, and then what? How do I actually practice?
The guide has tons of activities.
Oh, cool. Like what?
Well, for pronunciation, it suggests tongue twisters or shattering or recording yourself.
Those are good ideas.
Right.
What if I don't have anyone to practice with?
You can still practice solo.
Really?
Yeah, it's just as effective as long as you're consistent.
Okay, cool.
You can describe images out loud, talk to yourself, even make your own podcasts.
Wow, that's creative.
Right. But if you do have someone to practice with,
Yeah.
the guide says to join groups, find a partner, or do online exchanges.
Oh, and talk to people in real life, too.
Exactly, like at a cafe or something.
Okay, but finding time to practice can be hard.
I know, but the guide has tips for staying motivated. Set realistic goals. Break things down into small steps and reward yourself.
Oh, okay, so don't be too hard on myself.
Right, and if you hit a plateau,
Yeah, what then?
revisit your goals, try new things, ask for feedback.
So it's okay to switch things up.
Yeah, and remember why you started learning.
That's a good point.
And there are tons of resources out there to help you.
Like what?
Dictionaries, apps, websites, even just surrounding yourself with English.
Books, movies, music, yeah.
Exactly. Find what you enjoy.
Okay, so we've talked about techniques, practice, resources,
Yeah.
but what about confidence?
Ah, yes, the key ingredient.
It's one thing to know the rules,
Mm.
but it's another to actually feel confident speaking.
The guide has great advice for that.
Oh, good. What does it say?
Remember, everyone makes mistakes. Perfection isn't the goal.
Right, it's about communication,
Exactly. So shift your mindset.
from fear to curiosity.
Exactly. Embrace the challenge. Have fun.
I love that. What an inspiring way to wrap things up.
Right. Speaking English isn't about being perfect.
It's about connecting with people.
Exactly.
Well, I'm feeling super motivated to go out there and practice.
Me too. Remember, embrace the journey.
Yeah, enjoy the process.
And keep those conversations flowing.
That's a wrap on our deep dive. Thanks for joining us.